Welcome to Advanced Terraforming tutorial. This is continuation of my land basic terraforming tutorial and sea terraforming tutorial. In this one I will be covering advanced terraforming improvements like boreholes, condensers and soil enrichers. And then you will also be able to find here some advanced tips and tricks, as well as shorter descriptions or mini guides to concepts like ecological damage. I will put the links to the other two tutorials in the description, as well as to the time steps of this one. Hope you like it. If you like it, then like it. And if you have any suggestions or comments, they are welcome. This topic is a bit hard to cover, so I may have missed the things, or you may know better ways to do stuff. So be sure to add them in the comment. Let's try to make this maybe like a nice comprehensible tutorial for everyone that comes back to the game. Let's continue to the tutorial topics. What better way than to start advanced terraforming with advanced formers? I just wanted to show you a couple of these designs, so I guess that you know about them, and from there on you can experiment with your own designs. There are a couple of things that you should know, and let's start with cost. I think the cost is like the most important aspect of formers. You need to get them quickly and they need to improve stuff around. You cannot wait for them to be built. That is why we start with the simplest of them all, that's a former 011, only 20 minerals, and these are good for a long time. If you try to upgrade them to rover formers, which are awesome, 2 movement speed, you really want this, the cost ups to 50, which is huge. That is jump from 20 to 50, so you like really don't want to build these. But the situation changes as soon as you get fusion reactors, which, as you can see here, reduces cost to 30. So this is the point where you probably want to use these. Then you can try to equip them with special abilities. There are a couple of combinations that are quite strong. For example, it's good to have these trans rover formers. They can go around and do the stuff without fear of worms. And it is 50 minerals, which is not a lot for a stronger base. You can maybe build this in 2 or 3 turns. This may be worth it, your time. Another design of former that you might want to use is armored former, and this one is useful in wars. Often you want to move formers and then build roads, and you may even build bunkers if you need to. The problem is again the cost. This one with fusion reactor is 50 minerals, which is somewhat acceptable, and these are simply not a good idea with fission reactors. Fusion reactors are actually scaling quite well when armoring these normal formers, and the cost is only 60 minerals to upgrade it to level 8 armor, so you should probably know that it's not linear. For example, this one is 50 and this one is much stronger and it's only 60. And you can start building these earlier, because even if you get the next one, the cost is only reduced by 10. See, this is quantum chamber. So armoring rovers is a good thing also to do when you have fusion reactors. And what you cannot do is you cannot really armor the rovers and then use speeder chases, because making them fast and armored, it's a huge 120 minerals. But when you get the new reactor, you can see that now it's only 70. So as you progress, try to experiment with these. If you are using the newest equipment, so the high-tech equipment, it goes well with the high-tech reactors. Then probably while you are having a fusion reactor, you will get this superformer ability, terraform rate doubled. These are obviously awesome, and they work quite well with fusion reactor. It's only 40 minerals for speeder one. So you should probably build these from now on. For example, at this point, a bit in late game, I have bases that can build these in a single turn. From there on, you can experiment. For example, you can add them double the ability. This clean reactor requires no support. Former is only 60 minerals. That is awesome. And as the game goes later, you get something like these hover tanks. So they do not ever waste turn entering terrain, and they may move 3 tiles. Or, for example, you could try to build cruiser formers. They move super quickly. Let's quickly go through concept of eco damage. You should know that when you start like going into advanced terraforming, because these advanced tile improvements will cause eco damage that will actually become significant enough for you to care about it. So what does it mean? Once you do enough damage to the ecology, this number will eventually go red. It is 100 is limit, so we are 7% above. And at this point, it is possible that one of these tiles that base is working or around the base could go pop, and then the fungus and worms will appear while the tile will probably be destroyed. There are two sources of eco damage. One is from the tiles that you build around the base to get the yields, and the second one is directly from produced minerals. So regarding tiles, each of these tiles is producing some amount of eco damage. Tiles that are containing simple improvement like mine, farm or solar collector, I think I'm producing all 1 eco damage, while condensers produce 4 damage, Echelon mirrors 6, and borehole is the worst with 8 damage. If you work any of these tiles, then the produced damage is doubled. This practically means that working the borehole will get you in red very quickly, see. So working this borehole actually equals to 40% damage. You can get rid of this eco damage by building tree farm and hybrid forest. Each of these will reduce eco damage produced by tile improvements by 50%, so if you have both, that eco damage is completely removed. Still, you have to deal with mineral damage. That is the concept called clean minerals, and by default I think you have 15 or 16 free minerals, and if you go above it you accrue and gain some eco damage. You can up this cap for clean minerals by building tree farms, hybrid forests, then Centauri preserves, and Temple of Planet facilities. Also, each time when the fungus pops and worms appear, you get +1 mineral added to this cap. So ironically enough, it's actually beneficial to have eco damage over 100% to keep getting these fungus pops and keep killing worms, and then your cap will grow and you can have more and more minerals. That's a short guide to it. You can go into details in advanced concept ecology and maybe take a look through the description here. We have to start advanced terraforming with like maybe the most famous advanced tile improvement in Alpha Centauri, and that is borehole. Boreholes are easy to notice, and everyone who would come to the screen and looked at the map would say, what are those large holes in the terrain? What are they doing? And like you could try to explain them the concept of 200 kilometers deep boreholes into the heart of Earth, trying to get all the minerals and the energy, and it's mind-blowing. As awesome as the description is, so are the yields of this improvement. So it gives 6 minerals and 6 energy. Here it is 8 plus because it will also add up the resource underneath it, in which case this is energy resource. For example, this one produces 6, and then you can get extras, for example, from free market, I think. So it would be 6, 7. Of course, to get these yields, you have to unlock energy and mineral caps. And it is actually possible to get boreholes before you unlock these caps, and then you have like a set borehole with only 2 minerals and 2 energy, which is not really worth using. Better to use a forest. There comes into place the glaring weakness of the boreholes. It does not have food to it, and you cannot build farms underneath it. So boreholes will always require you to find a source of food to use it. But then that is actually not a big problem. Often you have something like this, condenser and food tile. This tile can feed the borehole. Or you have a good source of food, for example, on coast, in seas. So you can build a aqua farm here and get 4 food, and then like there are plenty of tiles, so you can use multiple boreholes. And then even later in the game, you can use satellites, or you just have crawlers to bring you the food in. So that weakness of boreholes is easily solved. Bigger weakness of boreholes is eco damage. Like you can see in Sparta command, my eco damage is 132, and after several pops, and you can see even the aliens here, Lots of boreholes around will net you these huge alien spawns. Like you see, there are like 4 large aliens here that are hard to kill, and then even the fungal tower spawned. And this tile is destroyed as well. See, I already killed the aliens here, and I think like one of these was also destroyed. And then they will keep popping up until you solve this, which is not easy. Worms can destroy your boreholes, although weirdly enough, when fungus spawns on borehole tile, from what I see, it does not destroy the borehole, so that's good. Even though you can lose boreholes actually, since for example, you have to place them on flat tiles. So you have to go on a map and look for a flat tile. You cannot build it actually on like slopes of the mountain. For that reason, like boreholes are often placed at the coast, here and here. And then they often can be actually flooded when you get later in the game. The sea level will rise. And that way, when you lose the borehole, you will lose ton of resources and actually ton of farmer turns. If you go on and check boreholes in Terraforming section in data links, you can see here turns to complete is 24. That's the single largest, longest tile improvement to complete. It's huge. That's why you need to use like 2 or 3 or 4 farmers to build this in a reasonable time. The description will also tell you that you cannot farm ever the borehole, but that's not an issue as we said. And then they have a significant negative ecological impact. You can see that in ecology tab, and borehole is here. You get +8 eco damage for each borehole, and that is huge. It is worse than the mirror and the condenser, and it's like it cancels out 8 forests. If you do let, for example, Tinker automatic farmers to build you boreholes, they do things like this. So there are 3 boreholes, and then this base needs ages to fix its eco damage. Nevertheless, once you get them, which is ecological engineering, the tech that we will be mentioning multiple times, it's Explore 4 tech, it unlocks lots of these advanced improvements. You pretty much want every base to have access to at least 1 borehole, and this is what lets your bases basically to breathe. And every base, no matter how junk it is, just need a single tile of food and 1 borehole, and it will usually have enough minerals to start producing facilities and to improve itself. And for example, late game peak into the bases, you can see something like this with all these minerals and the food solved. With some extra mineral multiplying facilities, you get like nice things like 50 minerals here, and then this can actually grow up to 100 once you finish up everything you have. I think optimal strategy for placing boreholes would be something like this. Of course, it would be even more dense. I just let Tinker farmers to how to build them, and they build a network like this. So borehole, borehole, condenser, borehole, condenser, borehole, condenser, borehole, and that solves your food issues plus mineral and energy issues, and then produces like the maximum amount of yields of everything. Maybe one last thing to add is that boreholes you usually don't want to crawl from, since they produce 2 types of resources. You want to work them, so you need the food in the city. And condenser tiles, which focus mostly on 1 type of resource, like this one here, 7 food, these you want to crawl. This is the second advanced terraforming improvement that we will be looking at, and this one is producing energy. I clicked on the tile just to show you the yields here, and you can see it produces only 3 energy, so the base tile is not so impressive. If we take a look at Echelon mirrors in data links, you will see that it is uncovered by the same tech as borehole. It's ecological engineering. Turns to complete is only 12, so that's half the time of thermal borehole, which hints you a bit at its value as well. Echelon mirror works as a solar collector, while also increasing the solar energy collected by solar collectors in all surrounding squares by +1, and it has significant negative ecological impact. This is even a bit weird, because it damages ecology almost as borehole, a bit less, 6 points compared to 8, but the resources are much less, so it gives +1 to all solar collectors. So to get full value from this Echelon mirror, ideally you would like to have all these solar collectors around, so you can place 8 of them. And then to work them you probably need farms, otherwise like there's not much point, you cannot combine a solar with a mine, which in turns then mean that you would like each of these tiles to be rolling and ideally rainy. And that is almost possible to do. For example, in my case here, I could level these 3 tiles, destroy rockness and get rolling modifier, so I could build a farm and solars on them. But it actually takes a ton of turns to level the terrain and build all of that. And for example, I cannot even solve this tile because it can never be rolling. This one is flat and moist. I'm explaining you this here just actually to show you how hard it is to fully get bonus from the Echelon mirror, although you don't have to go to that length. Like for example, this Echelon mirror will give you 4 extra energy. But you can consider energy like the weakest of all yields, weaker than food and minerals. So I think that for the most part, most players simply do not build these. You could have simply built a couple of boreholes around and get actually much more energy. I'm not all about power gaming, so I like to play with these things and experiment, and like I have a nice one here. You could actually build a nice one Echelon mirror here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra energies you can see. And then you can actually like try to place these fields in a formation like Echelon mirror, solar collector, Echelon mirror, solar collector, Echelon mirror, or just the row of Echelon mirrors and solar collectors to produce lots of energy. Total energy that solar collectors can produce depends on elevation they are at, so this one is at 2 kilometers, this is great, but the rest of these are below 1200. So ideally you would actually want to play this on large maps with lots of land, then you can get like Tibetan-like areas, or you would want to raise terrain everywhere so you have a high elevation, and then you could build these like cool solar energy farms. They do look very nice, so I like to use them. I think I will build a few here maybe, although power gaming wise you should probably not focus on these. I have free market, so for example you can see the tiles next to the Echelon mirror. This one is 314, this one is 315, which is cool. The tile where Echelon mirror is actually, it's unfortunately not rolling, so it's only 3-3. With that said, you can actually have a base like this one, which produces 4, 8, 12, 16 energy, and it's much easier to set up than solar Echelon farm. On topic of raising and lowering land in Alpha Centauri, I wanted to show you one more thing. We were already talking a bit about it, for example with Echelon mirrors, where you can raise or solar collectors. You can raise land to get more solar energy yields. The higher the elevation, the more yields you get, and then we mentioned it in our sea terraforming tutorial. Check that one as well if you didn't watch it, where you can raise seafloor so that you can actually improve the oceans for your bases if you need to. The one thing that you can do that I tried and then failed and eventually did is you can connect the continents by using formers to raise land. So I eventually managed to do it. Took me a bit, but I did. It's usually actually not that hard, but I got the technology very late, so I want to show you that. So sometimes later in the game I actually took a couple of more bases from them, and you can see on terrain that I connected here so I can send my units just like this way. Also I connected 2 of my islands here as well, which is kind of cool because that allows our farmers to travel and then improve everything around. Yeah, it's interesting that the same way you could actually use lower land. I didn't find many uses for it. For example, you can actually lower the land to destroy enemy bases if you wish. So one interesting thing regarding this that you should know about Chiron and Centauri ecology is that the wet, moist side is on the west. That's like how the sun goes out and lore-wise how the planet rotates. The west side of the slopes will be like this nice green terrain, while the east side will be more arid. You can see here it's arid and desert. There may be some exception, and then Over time, farmers will change the terrain, but here you can see, well, so this is arid and bad terrain, this is also terrain. So you can actually raise mountains by using farmers and, for example, ruin your opponent's terrain while you improve yours. You cannot flood terrain if you try to it. For example, if the terrain is 185 meters like here, and if you try to lower terrain, let me find the button.
Invalid terraform command.
The game will warn you that you cannot use lower terrain here. So let's see what happens if you try to lower the terrain next to the coast.
Terraform complete.
You can see that it flooded our land. So you can use lower terrain, but with sea terraformers to actually flood the land around if you wish to, and in which case actually the opponents will declare war on you, I think. Otherwise you cannot use farmer on land to lower terrain because I think the farmer would be destroyed. That's the idea. And one last cool thing, when you get access to missiles and the tectonic technology, so you can eventually build these tectonic payloads missile, and their strength depends on, and cost as well, for 50 minerals depends on reactor. I have here quantum chamber. You can use this thing to raise land, for example. I will go here and then activate it. And you can see what it did. This is huge, so it made a mountain. I mean, cool, almost 3 kilometers. Oh my god. See, I was actually trying this with a fusion reactor and it did much less. So, and this is cool. I think I'm afraid to try it. What would this singularity reactor do? This time here I have a fusion tech. So I'll show you first the tectonic fusion missile. Gonna detonate it, for example, here. And there you go. So we now have like a hill. Larger reactor, larger the area of effect. And then a fungal fusion missile. Let's make a boom here. And this one seems to actually be somewhat random. Seems to me that it always spawns a fungal tower and then some worms around and fungus. No, not sure actually. Last time I got only one. Now there are like 2 of these fungal things around and 2 worms. And I don't know, doesn't seem too strong to me, to be honest. I even captured the worm. You can use this to produce worms, apparently. Yeah, well, this thing is not that great. And then Fusion Planet Buster. We will of course use this on Deirdre. Let's see how this terraforms lands. What's the shortcut? Let's just hit the base. That's a Garland crater for you. See, this is one impressive way to actually create lakes and seas. Now we get to condenser. Those are these things here, like these black and white towers. And the way they work is that they like gather rain clouds around and increase the quality of the land around. So they make it more green and more nutrient rich. You can think of condensers maybe the best like area of effect farm, which is very powerful. And it is not only that it improves its own tile, it also stacks with the farm. Then it improves adjacent tiles and even the tiles further away, as I observed that, for example, if I would place a condenser here, I have seen that like tiles 2 or 3 distance away will also change to greener version. So it can turn arid tiles. Do I have them somewhere? These tiles can turn even immediately into rain tiles. Sometimes it just turns them to these moist tiles, but it can turn them into rain tiles, which is like 2 tiers above. So I don't know what's the exact range and chance to change the rainness of the tile, but it can happen, and it makes the condensers very powerful. One thing that it can never do, it cannot ever turn a non-jungle tile into a jungle tile. As far as I know, the description of condensers data links is not completely correct. Here it says it provides +1 nutrient in its own square, cumulative with farm bonuses. This part is correct, but it's not +1 nutrient. It seems to be plus 50% nutrients. So it's percentage based and it is rounded down. So it's usually +1. But if you place condenser on a very rich tile, like for example this one, here you have this is rainy tile that has 2 food by default. Then you have a nutrient resource, that's 4 food, and you build a farm on top of it, that's 5 food. And now when you build a condenser, it should be 6 food, but you will notice here that actually this is 7 nutrients, 7 food. Actually this crawler is, yeah, we can see here, it ships 7 nutrients a year to some base. So the effect of the condenser here is that it produces 2 food on its own tiles. Now you could say what is 1 extra food, right, on that tile, but if you have a situation like this, so here we have a jungle tile with a nutrient resource, and you can see that this one produces 9 food, which is awesome. In the base it says 8 plus because the base does not ever show like more than 8. If I remove condenser, you can see that now the food is 6, so here in this case the condenser actually gives 3 food. Now the bonuses of condensers do not end actually there, because it also stacks with soil enricher, which is like the next farm upgrade, and that one is also percentage based and it actually multiplies with this one. So soil enricher on top of condenser will not add 1 food like it's in description, but also another 2, 3, or I don't know, 4 food, how much it can add. That you can get some stupidly high food yields from this. Condensers are obviously stupidly good, so you should spam them a bit. But there are like a couple of restrictions. You cannot place solar collectors on them, you cannot place mines on them. So this is mostly food tile. You can get another things on the top of the nutrients, but condenser tile is mostly food tile. For that reason, it's also good for supply crawling. Furthermore, you can build condensers next to each other, unlike with boreholes. But they do have one downside that is like important, but it's not too damaging, and that is ecological damage they cause. So one condenser is actually producing 4 eco damage, and that's equivalent to 4 forests. So if you have a base with 4 forests and the condenser, like it will cancel each other on eco damage. Still, anyway, that's not a major issue since there are ways to fight eco damage, and it like goes away as fungus pops. You get more and more higher limit to use minerals and fight with eco damage, so it's not an issue. You can always pump condensers. There is not much more to it. Considering, for example, their placement, you should first build them on the best tiles, so on top of nutrient resources and on the greenest tiles you have, and then maybe know that you should eventually late game plan to build soil enrichers also on top of them. Next we are covering soil enrichers. They go like hand in hand with condensers. The thing about soil enrichers is that they come pretty late in the game, and that they cannot be unlocked with the weather paradigm like the rest of the advanced terraforming. The tech that you get them is the advanced ecological engineering, which is the same tech when you get superformers. This tech in general takes some time to get. Maybe if you are the faction that focuses build technologies, you can get it faster. And the description in data links of soil enricher is not correct, just the same as condenser. It does not give +1 food, but it's +50% of food. And even better, as I mentioned with condenser, it actually stacks multiplicatively with condenser, so it produces some ridiculously yields. Here is an example of a soil enricher built on top of farm and solar combination here. So you can notice that this tile produces 4 food. So what you would usually get on a tile like this is 3 food, and here soil enricher adds another one extra, so we have a tile with 4 food. You should build soil enrichers on pretty much every food tile in your empire, and the shortcut for that is F. And it will just build a soil enricher on top of your farm. So it's for food as well. So interesting thing about soil enrichers, like with condensers, is when you start to build them on these rich nutrient tiles like this. So this is tile that has 90 nutrients with in a jungle with a farm and condenser on top of it. So 8 plus. And if I build now on this tile soil enricher,
Improvement already exists.
so we have soil enricher here, and you can see that actually this tile produces 13 food. I mean, it says here 8 plus, but you can see here it's 13. And now this is stupidly strong. This is even more resources than a borehole. You can get some high yields in Alpha Centauri, but this is one of the highest, I think. That I think covers soil enrichers. So once you get them, build them on every fire time, and of course focus first on these condenser tiles since they stack well with them. One of the wonderful things that you can do in Alpha Centauri is to terraform land in a way that you create rivers like these. And it's a beautiful and cool way to change terrain and improve your yields. Interestingly enough, since we are very advanced civilization, we got to drill to aquifers quite early. It's already available at Tech 4, and that is ecological engineering. It's Explore 4 technology. You can get relatively early if you research this area of technology, or you can get it by building a weather paradigm. What like really stops you to spam rivers everywhere and change the terrain completely is early on mostly this turn to complete. It takes 18 turns to build a river, so that's quite a long time. This actually you can speed up. For example, if you have the weather paradigm, it would be 12 turns, and then you can double up formers. So for example, you can build it in 9 or 6 turns that way. And in a late game, you get access to these super formers. They do everything at double the speed. So since I have the weather paradigm, one of these will drill to aquifer in only 6 turns. If you want to couple them and use 2, then it would be only 3 turns to create a river. So what river gives you is 1 energy on each tile that it passes through. So if you check, for example, this forest should be giving 1 energy, but it gives 2 since there is a river below. The mine produces 1 as well, and then pretty much every tile produces +1. The base tile has more energy, it has +1 from river, I think. For example, this river is maybe only 4 energy, and that's not much, but this also gets multiplied by network nodes, energy banks, so that's basically 100% bonus, so that's 8 total energy in this base, and you can have more of these improvements. Then it's not just energy, there is more to it. The river can, if we go here, let's try to find the example. So river can change the quality of terrain. As you can see, these are moist tiles here, but these are rainy, where the river goes. So when you build a river, it can happen, but it's not guaranteed as far as I can observe. It can, the river can change the terrain from moist to rainy, so you also can get +1 food. If you're lucky, you can get something like +4 food and +4 energy. Food is obviously huge. Good strategy, especially early game, would be to try to tactically build some rivers, drill to aquifers at some specific places like this one, where you can create a long river. The river should go basically down the elevation, But like you never know, I'm not sure how it works. It seems to me that rivers flow sometimes a bit weirdly. For example, here, you would expect it if you drill a river here that it would, I don't know, flow this way, or I don't know, maybe this way, but this river flows like this. Like this is logical maybe, but these two tiles, I don't know. Whatever the case, good idea is to spam rivers if you can. So there are a few limitations. You cannot build a river next to river. So if this river flows this way and you try to drill here, the game will not allow you. So you have to like move away one tile and you can try to drill a river here, which is still great. I mean, you could get like this great river here. And then there is another weird thing, which is actually quite cool and fun. And here you can see, here I had a river which flew, I think, like this, and it was going into the sea here. But what happens is that my automated farmers built a borehole here. And borehole, as in description in data links, is like, I don't know, 200 kilometers deep hole that drills to the core of the planet to extract energy and minerals. And it actually stops the river, so river is like flowing underneath the land and it's lost. So unfortunately this borehole like destroyed my river and I lost the river in these two tiles. There are actually more examples. This river it was broken. These here like weird looking mini rivers, they are broken by boreholes. This borehole breaks the river. So maybe when building boreholes you may watch and not destroy the rivers, but automated farmers are doing that. That's maybe one thing to suggest developers to teach farmers not to build boreholes on river tiles. I think that's what we need to know about drilled aquifer and rivers. There may be more tricks like you can build the rivers next to each other if you cheese the game and build them start them at the same time with farmers, or before one finishes then you start the other river. They will start next to each other, but then they will connect. Rivers connect often. As a conclusion, think of them as a nice improvement, but not the breaking one like boreholes or condensers. So you should not making them like a huge priority, but once when you have enough farmers and time, certainly do try to spam several rivers. It can improve the quality of your land, sometimes quite a lot. Airbases and bunkers. These two are military type improvements that can help you control the land better. Bunker is obviously like great at choke points. It gives plus 50% defense and it looks like this. Yeah, it's cool. I remember seeing this in vanilla Alpha Centauri like a long time ago. It seems that in mods AI do not build it actually, but player can of course. And then I like never saw these actually in games. This is an airbase. You don't get to see these at new games because it's not easy to get them. You need Doctrine Air Power. That's like early mid-game technology to build a airbase, and it takes 10 turns. And the bunkers you get at Advanced Military Algorithms, and that's Conquer 4. Like it's only tier 4 tech, but it tends to come a bit later, call it that way. It's I don't know how the tree goes, but it's not super easy to get this tech. Regarding airbases, I actually don't know good uses. I guess I don't play large maps. If you play on large maps, then you can maybe use it like pit stops, plant some air bases to travel with planes if you need to. But planes have large range, and then there are lots of bases. So I usually just go in between bases, and you don't need these. I don't know, there are maybe more uses for them. If you know something or why they are good and I'm missing it here, maybe leave a comment. Regarding bunkers, I think they are like much more useful. So often in Alpha Centauri, like you have enemies on 2 or 3 sides, and then it makes a ton of sense to plop a bunker, something like here. AI usually built, as I remember, like forest, that's 50% defense. Then you build a bunker, that's extra 50% defense, and then you plop up a sensor array as well. And you have very fortified tile. You put it at choke point, and then due to zone control, AI cannot pass. And in a sense, it's better than defending in a base because you don't have to be scared of probes attacking you and stealing things from base. So the bunker has its uses. I will probably consider using it more in my future games. On to next improvement. Here we have mag tubes. So those are these bluish tubes, and they work like railroads in Civilization games. In Civilization, depending on game, they were giving, I think, different multipliers for movements, like you can move 10 tiles, or I think in Civilization 3 was it infinite? So you could move from one part of the map to the other instantly, which obviously makes these super powerful. They are very strong, mods tend to limit them, and you can mod it in files. You can just change the number, for example, to move 10 or 20 tiles or 6, however much you like. The trick that balances them, I guess, somewhat is that you get this technology late. Mag tubes are available at monopole magnets, which is quite late actually, and they take 3 turns to complete. So you cannot like super quickly spam them, although it goes very quickly with super farmers. Of course, when you get mag tubes, you want like a highway road that goes through your empire, so you can quickly travel from one side to the other. Not much to say else. I don't know how many mods for Alpha Centauri are there, but some like AI growth will actually give you mag tubes much earlier to use. The author of that mod likes to play on large maps, so he balanced the game a bit around playing on large maps, so it makes sense to have these earlier. That was a lot. I wanted to cover a few more things like the weather paradigm or fungus terraforming, but I guess we may cover that in future videos. If you have any ideas, please suggest it. And make sure to watch Land and Sea Terraforming tutorial if you didn't already. Thank you for watching.